On this episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we talk about oh God, I'm gonna butcher it.
Matando Gueros.
I think it's a soft G. I think it's Gueros. If I'm remembering from the song that title is from, by Brujeria. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bronze Medalist podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
We're two professional broadcasters. We like metal, and we like to talk about it. And today, we're talking about a band from Los Angeles, California, or at least some of the people, the core of the band from Los Angeles, California. Called Brujeria, which is Spanish for witchcraft.
Yeah.
I took one semester of Spanish when I was a freshman in high school. So
maybe Brujeria.
Brujeria. I think Brujeria is probably it. I really should have checked.
You should have checked.
I should have checked pronunciations. I don't have the spoons for anything today. I feel like today was it was an interesting time at work.
Yeah, it was.
Waking up to extra responsibilities that I wasn't planning
somebody
on
got the
having.
flu. I mean, that happens.
Somebody got sick. That happens. But first thing in the morning, like, oh god damn, now I have to do a remote that I wasn't going to do otherwise tomorrow. You had to do a remote today.
Yeah, and you had to run the board for you. Only fella in the building.
I was the only person in the building. I had other stuff going on at the same time.
Right.
I had a giveaway that I had to do while you were broadcasting live, and it was a time. I took lunch a lot later than usual. Made a poor decision for lunch and ate too much, and was consequently not hungry when I got home from work. So now I'm going to eat supper late.
So this day is just a write-off.
Yeah, the day's over with.
Yeah.
I feel like tomorrow will honestly be better because the timing of the remote that I now have to do tomorrow does not really upset my daily routine at all, except for the very end.
Right. Is that 1 to 3 or is it 3 to 5?
It's 3:30 to 5:30.
Okay.
It's awkward timing. But in any case, it's been a weird day. So I didn't do a whole lot of work. Doing a lot of research about this band. It's also a little bit difficult to sort out, like, say, the band members, because there's about 4,000 previous band members. They all used pseudonyms. The true identities of almost all of them are known, and there's a lot of big names in there and well-known names, and a lot of European names of folks that are definitely white. But the core of the band has always been Latin American people of broadly people of Mexican descent.
Right. Viva la Mexico.
Which is the theme, the theme of the band.
Yeah.
But it's you warned me that this album was probably not for me.
Yeah.
You were right. This album is really not for me in so many ways. But we'll talk more about that later on. I mean, we've already talked a little bit about how we are today. How's the rest of your week been?
I don't remember.
Okay, that's fair.
It's been strange.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't really done anything new lately. I need to.
It's springtime, so I feel like
April.
But by the end of this month, it will start getting better.
Less gross.
Yeah, less gross. I mean, we just had some actual rain, some honest to God rain.
Did it not
and
hail?
It hailed. No, it hailed. It hailed here. We just had an actual rain shower with some force behind it.
Yeah. I wondered what the hell was going on. I'm in my apartment, and it's like, what is that sound?
Well, because it always does this every April.
Yeah.
Where it goes from last week it was in the 20s and 30s.
Uh-huh.
And by the end of this week it's in the 70s.
Right.
Like it does this every fucking year, and it's always like, what the heck is going on?
Right.
Why did it do that? And it's like, it does it every year.
Yeah.
Why are you not used to this?
Spring is not one season in North Dakota. Spring
No.
is like 8
all of
seasons. Yeah.
It's all of them in one. And you never know which one you're going to get week to week. It's bullshit. And I mean, we've talked about, I feel like every week so far this spring, we've talked about how much we hate spring. I feel like as I get older and spend more and more time inside and not being outside exposed to various allergens and whatnot, I feel like I'm developing more and more seasonal allergies as time has gone on. I've been over the last week or so a bit scratchy. Feel like my throat's been dry. I've felt like some sinus pressure, some itchy eyes and whatnot, and little feverish now and then. And I'm always like, am I getting sick? Am I getting sick, or do I have allergies now? Because my mom has, some at this point pretty intense allergies.
Yes.
I don't think they're all necessarily seasonal, but like. But she also, she gardens and stuff during the spring and summer, and she spends plenty of time outside and whatnot. But I think it's the genes are there for allergies. So I don't think I'm doing myself any favors by being such an indoor kid.
You are an indoor kid.
I really am.
Although you are a hunter.
I mean, yeah, but that's so rare. That's an event where the goal is to spend as little. Ultimately, it's not really the goal the way our family hunts, but it's kind of the unspoken part of, we want this to be over as quickly as possible.
Right.
And getting it over as quickly as possible means being successful. Getting the tag filled, getting your deer, But, if at all possible, we all want to be done in that first weekend. And it's not because we don't like it, but it's like, it means we don't have to drive back out here.
Right.
And come back out here when it's even colder and more snowy, depending upon, and that's the other thing. It's November. It's the first week of November in North Dakota. It might be 60 degrees. It might be 15. And there might be a foot of snow on the ground.
Right.
You never know.
November's one of those months where you have no idea.
And like the way that it tends to work with deer, when it is colder and there is more snow on the ground, it tends to be a little bit easier to both spot them, and they tend to be a bit more sluggish a little bit. Like it is easier hunting when there is some snow on the ground and it is colder, but it makes the hunting itself more miserable. So yeah, it really sucks when the snow is covering, say, a prickly pear on the ground, right in the spot where you want to lay down so you can get a nice shot. I don't think that has happened to me specifically, but it did happen to a family friend that we used to hunt with for the longest time, him and his kids. Although I don't think there was snow on the ground that year. I think he just wasn't looking. Now that I'm remembering it, his name's Blake. Big, huge guy. Extremely very, very loud, I guess, and friendly guy, but he was not looking, and him and my oldest sister, I think, spotted a deer, and they went to lay down, and he laid down right on a cactus. He was not having a good. I don't think he yelled. I think everyone stayed quiet because
there's a deer.
There was a deer.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was pretty funny. In retrospect, but yeah, I am definitely still an indoor kid. I want to be I want to go outside more, but all the things I like doing are inside.
Not true. You love that canoe.
It's a kayak, you son of a bitch.
That schooner you have is that's great.
I mean, I do like it. And now I have a big garage that I can store it. So, at some point here, I think the first time when the weather's good for me to go down to the lake, I will probably take it back up here with me.
Sure.
And use that as an opportunity to take it to some places that are maybe a little bit closer to Minot or up to Lake Metagoshi or something like that.
Metagoshi is a great place for that.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a few lakes. It's not just Lake Metagoshi. It's like a series of lakes. There's some that are inhabited by. There's just Lake Schooling.
Okay.
You take your speedboat up there and.
Yeah, my speedboat.
Your speedboat. And the only inhabitants of Lake Schooling are just this giant beaver dam. There's a lot of beavers.
That would be good. I'd like to go up there.
It's awesome, yeah.
I'll have to check that out.
Check out them beavers.
Yep. At MSU?
Yeah.
Minot State University, the Beavers?
By the way, he almost blew away today.
The beaver,
the giant inflatable beaver, because the wind was gusting up to like 30 miles an hour.
Oh my God, that's funny. I couldn't quite, because I overheard you talking about it, and I wasn't sure the dimensions of what it was you were referring to. I didn't know if it was something smaller, if it was a big inflatable, or if it was like Buckshot, the mascot. That would have been hilarious. I mean, it's a big mascot costume. That thing will catch the wind.
Right, yeah. But no, this was like, I don't know, probably 20 feet tall.
Oh my God.
20-foot tall inflatable beaver.
I'm surprised they even put it up.
Yeah, it was weird, and it's starting to blow away. And somebody at some point did say, "Hey, we need to secure that beaver." Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows.
Yeah.
Everyone who has gone to that school knows.
And I just have to imagine the city council talking to my friend Mike Johnson there when he was trying to open his store across Broadway. They're like, "Look, we get it.
We get it. It's very funny.
It's very funny, but you can't call your store Beaver Liquors.
We call it something else. We hope you had a backup name.
We'll give you the permit, but no.
You're not allowed to call it that." But yeah, I'll have to take my kayak up there. Like that. Yeah. That is like my big outdoor hobby. And like I went camping a lot when I was a kid, and
I love camping.
Like, I spent a lot of time outdoors in all seasons when I was a kid. I loved going outside in the winter. I loved going outside during blizzards.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, just out into the front yard. Like, messing around when the wind was blowing 8,000 miles an hour and there was, a foot of snow falling within the course of an hour. That's the time when I wanted most to be outside.
I moved here from the desert. Having lived in the desert all my life, I moved here in the fall of 1983. I don't know if you know what happened the following April.
Massive snowstorm.
I'm like, this is the best day of my life.
Yeah. There's just something about it where to this day, I want to be like outside when it's blizzarding and whatnot, but right. I don't have. I'm 29 years old now, and if I was just outside in the middle of a blizzard, people would call the cops for a welfare check. People would be like, "I think this man is having a mental breakdown. Could you come check on him?"
He possibly wandered out.
I think this guy might be on drugs,
or should be,
or he should be.
Yeah. Either way, it seems the cake slid off his plate. So
it'd be like if I was a homeowner, it would be a little bit different because then if I had like a backyard or something like that to go out into in times like that, but in an apartment complex, it's a little different.
You know what you should do? Next time there's a blizzard, what you do is you leave the apartment complex and you walk to one of the ground floor balconies and you just stare in the window.
Just stand there? Yeah.
Just stand there?
There we go. That's a good idea. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Sorry.
When I was in college, my first apartment, we had a huge snowstorm at some point.
Yeah.
And on my Instagram, there's still a video there of me and my roommate sprinting outside shirtless and making snow angels, just for the fuck of it because we were drunk and it was we were drunk and 21 years old and it was fun. But yeah, I don't know if winter's my favorite season.
No?
I think I enjoy like blizzards. I enjoy when it is snowing. But a lot of the other inconveniences around winter
are a pain in the ass.
They are a big pain in the ass that I don't particularly care for. I feel like there are probably like September. I feel like summer into fall, like the transitionary period between the height of summer and autumn. I think is probably my favorite time of year.
That's about a week too. I mean,
it's a pretty short period, so I'm miserable most of the time.
It's Hustfest, colored leaves, winter. That's all it is. It's about a 14-day period.
Yeah. I do like summer for the most part because it does get at times pretty hot and pretty humid here, despite our reputation for how cold it is. I mean, it doesn't get nearly as hot as the desert or anything like that.
Or where I moved here from, Las Vegas.
But it does get pretty hot. It's not Arctic most of the time. That's how continental climates work.
Right.
If you go to the middle of Siberia in summertime, it's going to be like 80 degrees.
Yeah, it's going to be hot and it's going to be fun. There's going to be co-eds out there playing volleyball.
In Siberia?
I don't know.
Maybe somewhere, I'm sure. There's cities and stuff in Siberia. Right. Probably somebody's playing volleyball out there. I don't know.
If you're in Siberia and it's summer, there's going to be hot singles in your area.
In Novosibirsk?
In Novosibirsk, yes.
I think that's. I'm pretty sure Novosibirsk is in Siberia.
Actually, I have. I think it's my Facebook profile. That's actually where it says my hometown is.
Novosibirsk, Russia.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't really go on Facebook anymore, but
yeah, I think the most recent times I have checked Facebooks is to see Facebooks. Oh boy!
Now you got my disease.
Oh no! I didn't call it the Facebooks though, which is what you always do.
Right.
No, the most recent times I have checked Facebook is just to see how many people have liked when I post progress on minis I've painted.
Nice.
That's basically the only time I use Facebook anymore. And to wish family members a happy birthday.
I'm in a poke battle with 3 different people. That's it. And I'll go out once a month. I'll go in there and I'll say, "You got pokes from these people." Poke, poke, poke. Talk to you next month.
Honestly shocked that poking is still around.
Yeah.
I'm shocked that there hasn't been an update that has removed poking. I don't know if I think I have been, but it's only been by people I don't want to interact with.
Right.
But
otherwise they would just talk to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very seldomly in the many years I've had a Facebook page have I been poked.
I hear you there.
Hey. Yeah. Speaking of painting minis, which I mentioned a little bit ago, I have a new worst enemy when it comes to painting Warhammer minis.
What is that?
Terminators in general, which is what's on the desk over there.
Yeah.
Which is a Space Marine, but in bigger, heavier armor.
Oh, wow.
There's a lot of angles on there that need a lot of edge highlighting, and also there's a symbol on the shoulder pads and the knee that's this very complicated stylized cross with a skull and crossbones in the middle of it,
and very small at this point because
it's very small. And it's got a lot of detail, and it's raised and molded into the plastic. I fucking hate painting those. I absolutely hate painting those. The method that I have figured out is I dry brush them because it just seems to be faster and more convenient. And if there are some bare spots, I go back with a small brush and cover them up. But it's also white, and the base coat is dark blue, so the white doesn't cover particularly well. But dry brushing is exactly what it sounds like, because most of the time when you're painting with acrylic paints,
you want to dip in water. Then dip it in.
You want it to be thinned down.
Yeah.
But dry brushing is you just take a dry brush, usually flat square bristles on the end.
Gotcha.
And you just kind of dab it into some paint, wipe off the excess on a piece of tissue paper, and then sort of kind of flick it back and forth over whatever it is you're trying to paint. It's really good at catching like raised edges and whatnot. So if you're really lazy, you can use that to like highlight certain areas and whatnot. It's good for this because it's all raised edges, this symbol, but it does miss some spots, and the paint is a little thick in places, so it can you can lose some details if you're not careful.
Sure.
But yeah, I fucking hate those symbols.
You know, I feel like a way to alleviate stress while you're painting these, because of what they are, if just occasionally while you're feeling stressed out, just go because they're Terminators.
Okay, all right, there we go. I got it now.
All right.
But he didn't make the.
I know.
He didn't make those noises as the Terminator.
No, he did not. No.
But yeah,
that would just make it goofy.
That would make it goofy.
Yeah.
Warhammer's very serious. It's not. It's not goofy at all.
No, it's not.
Mr. Iron Hands, who had iron hands. But yeah, it's a pain in the ass. This and there's two of them on every. I mean, one of them is even smaller. One's on the shoulder and is nice and big, and the other one's on the knee pad and is even fucking smaller. It's a pain in the ass. I did the first, like, I don't know how I'm going to try and go, because the first one I did looks different than the other ones.
Right.
Because I hadn't figured out, like, the best thing to do would probably be to dry brush this.
Yeah.
So I just kind of tried to paint in the whole thing with a small brush. So it's very solid, and like the gaps between the bits of the symbol are all white, and some of the detail has been lost. So I don't know if I want to go with like try and make a really thin blue paint to sort of dab into the recesses like a wash. I don't know.
Sure.
This is all kind of technical mini painting talk, which only some people will get.
Thanks for joining us on Mini Talk.
Thanks for joining us on. I feel like a podcast talking about painting miniatures is
like an audio podcast.
Yeah, a bad format.
Right.
Like there are lots of shows on YouTube where it's a person, here's how you paint this miniature.
And as a person who's never painted a mini, I watch those and I think they're very interesting.
That's great on YouTube.
Yeah.
A podcast would be bad.
Yeah.
That would be a bad format for it. But well, on this podcast, we typically talk about music once we stop bullshitting.
Yeah.
So yeah, we talked about, or we listened to Matando Gueros by Brujeria.
Brujeria.
Yeah. And I feel like we should both back up every time you turn over. Well, you keep hitting my foot with your knee.
Well, that's because I fidget.
So Matando Gueros means literally killing whites, essentially. Yeah. Gueros is a slang term for basically describing like a blonde-haired white person.
Right.
It's so the whole thing with Brujeria. I think I was pronouncing it like that to myself in preparation for how am I going to say this?
Yeah.
And then I've completely forgotten. But their whole thing is they basically, like, their stage get up is they dress like, Mexican gangsters, like cartel gangsters. They all use pseudonyms. The subject matter of the songs is not just like, brutal cartel style crime.
Right.
It's also Satanism and sex and, and anti-Christianity. Like just anything that would be offensive to like broader conservative like Mexican and American culture, but specifically with a Mexican lean to it because all the lyrics are in Spanish.
Right.
For the longest time, I shouldn't have closed the Wikipedia pages. He died last year. Juan Brujo, who's the only member of the band, not the only member, but one of the few members of the band that doesn't have his own Wikipedia page. So I don't know if that was, or actually I do know. His real name was to be found somewhere else that I saw. Let me look here. John David Lepe, also known as Juan Brujo, was lead vocalist basically from the beginning up until 2024 when he passed away.
Right.
But he was effectively, I think, for a very long time, The only remaining original member of the band besides Phantasma, a.k.a. Pat Hoed, who's the bassist and vocalist or backing vocalist, depending upon the time period.
How long has Shane Embry been apart?
Shane Embry has been apart since very close to the beginning. He was not a founding member of the band, but he came in pretty soon after the band got started, I believe. He goes by Hongo. As his stage name.
Right.
So they got started in L.A., and have been going with a few hiatuses ever since then. And if you know the name Shane Embry, that's because he's best known as the bass player. He plays mostly guitars in Brujeria, I believe. I think bass is mostly covered by Phantasma.
Right.
But Shane Embry is best known for working with Napalm Death, and he is far from the only known quantity of the wider grindcore and death metal or just alternative rock scene.
Right.
You've also got Dino Cazares from Fear Factory.
Yes.
Jello Biafra from fucking Dead Kennedys.
Yeah.
Billy Gould from Faith No More. Raymond Herrera,
also Fear Factory.
Yeah, from Fear Factory. Swedish guitarist Patrick Jensen, or probably Jensen.
Yeah.
Jeff Walker from Carcass. So many different people have been in this band. It's why, and this is a bit I was aware of this band. This is a name I have heard before, and I did a little bit of times I've heard it was what's this band's deal? Oh, okay, that doesn't seem like it's for me. And boy, is it not for me.
Right. I mean, it for what it is, it's done well. I mean, it's done like it was recorded in someone's garage in 1993, which I think it was.
Yeah. And it's interesting considering I guess it is 1993, so Napalm Death was established at the time, but it wasn't like they were making, slickly produced masterpieces at the time.
Well,
but they
kind of were.
They were getting there for sure.
Utopia Banished was already out at that point.
I mean, it's still a pretty grimy sounding album.
Yeah.
We're not in we're not yet in the era of really slick, hyper-produced death metal yet.
Right.
I mean, you're getting there, especially as like the Swedish death metal scene is sort of taking off and melodic death metal starts to become a thing. But the recording quality not so great.
Nope.
I didn't notice it until close to the end of the album, and I was not able to unhear it. I fucking hate the way the bass guitar sounds on this album. I absolutely despise the way the bass guitar sounds. Maybe it was just on those last couple of songs, and that's when I noticed it, or my brain finally picked it up. But it does. And there are some other albums I've heard. It's a problem I've mostly noticed at live performances sometimes, where it feels like the bass is way too down-tuned and they have not used a heavier gauge string or something like that, and it slaps and flaps against the fretboard, makes the worst fucking noise, and I could not unhear it, and it ruined what remained of the album for me, because that's all I could hear was the sound that the bass guitar was making. I hated it.
I've had albums ruined for me like that before.
Yeah.
Testament's Practice What You Preach. This is going to be an unpopular take here.
Okay.
But the bass guitar on that album ruined the whole thing. It sounds like someone's playing a really big Jew's harp.
Yeah. There was something about this where it just the bass guitar, it just sounded like a fart, honestly, at times. I hated it.
The farty sounding bass guitar.
Yeah, because I feel like having the bass. People always talk shit about bassists and like to make fun of where bass sits in the hierarchy of a band, but it is the second most important instrument. The most important instrument is the drums. The bass is the second most important instrument because it is the bass. it's the tone that everything else builds on top of.
It's the foundation.
And if it's bad, it makes everything else that's on top of it worse. And yeah, I couldn't get over it.
Yeah.
I also, from the beginning, did not care for the vocals.
I knew that was going to be the case.
I did not care for the vocals, generally speaking.
It's just a dude speaking gruffly.
Yeah, for the most part. Occasionally, it's more of a proper death growl at times. They're also, I swear, I'm almost certain at times they were pitch shifting his voice down. They were like artificially lowering his voice to make it deeper at times. I didn't care for that. Like other albums I've heard where they do that at times, it's an effect that I just don't like. Mm-hmm. Even if it's clear that they're doing it like just for the effect of it rather than trying to make it sound like the person's voice is genuinely that deep or something like that. Like trying to fake a really deep guttural death growl or something like that.
Doing it in a computer.
Yeah. I think they were maybe just doing it for the effect of it. If they were doing it at all, maybe that's just, I can make my voice sound deeper. But sure. I don't know. Maybe I was imagining that, but that's what it sounded like to me. That's how my brain interpreted it, and it made me like it less.
Right.
I feel like I'm being very negative about this album. I want to be clear. If you like this album, if you OJ like this album, and you the listener enjoy this album, if this band is your jam, because also this is just one example of this band's work, which has continued up until the present day.
Right.
This is the first. This is their first album. Yeah. I don't know if I would like some of their other stuff more. Mm-hmm. But absolutely no shade on anybody who enjoys this, but it's
not for you.
It's not for me. It's definitely not for me.
This is actually once in a handful of years.
You gotta remind yourself.
Yeah, it's like Ludafisk.
You have to check back in.
I have to check back in. Like every 7 years, I go the aforementioned Hustfest.
Yep.
I go there and I'll pay the $30. And I'll get...
That's too much to pay for Ludafisk.
I'm aware. And
you can go to church and get that for free.
Yeah, but it's not made by, the great chefs.
That's true. That's fair. The great chefs at the Hustfest.
Yeah,
there's some amazing food, but...
Oh, there's great food.
Yeah.
Like the Viking on a stick is one of my favorite things in the world.
But Ludafisk is one of those things where...
It's not good.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone in my family likes Ludafisk. Maybe my dad does. I think I'm thinking of sauerkraut. I think my dad likes sauerkraut and no one else does.
You get the Ludafisk dinner there. It comes with like several different things like lefse with butter.
Yeah,
and
lefse's great.
Yeah, when you're eating a meal and you're going, these smashed peas are pretty good. You've got shit on a plate. Yeah. Is what you have.
Your main course is lacking when you really like the smashed peas. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think $30 is far too much for something you are almost certainly not going to enjoy. That's way too much money. That's all the food at the Hustfest is going to be more expensive because you're at a festival. But yeah, that's too much money for something you can go to a church basement.
Right, and get for free.
And every Lutheran church in the state
that week,
that week especially, is going to be serving lefse for free. Not lefse. Lefse will also be there.
Sure,
but Ludafisk will be for free as well. Especially in this part of the state. The more southerly you go, the more German it gets, so you'll get Fleischkekle instead.
Well, I used to work at a truck stop, and we used to have a Ludafisk special that week at the truck stop. And I'm like, wow, so what kind of special implement do you use to heat up and cook and make the Ludafisk? And she wraps it in a towel and a rag, throws it in the microwave. That's the best way. Is it really? Yep.
No.
Okay.
It is soaked in lye at some point. Like, it's a food that the Scandinavians made because fish was all they had, and they needed to make it last through the winter. And now they don't need to do that anymore.
Right.
So they don't eat it anymore.
Right. So of course the great chefs, when they're invited over, I'm sure they have just a hilarious meeting before leaving for North Dakota. Like, they're going to want us to make Ludafisk on purpose?
Why would you... you're supposed to eat this on a dare.
Yeah,
it's like hakkarl in Iceland. Like it's not a staple.
No,
it's a quote unquote delicacy.
Yeah,
aka a thing you are dared to eat when you're drunk. And it was made for the same reasons. We've got barely any food because we live in a volcanic barren wasteland, and we fished up this giant poisonous shark. So we got to figure out a way to make it edible.
Right. Which they didn't.
They did not. We were talking about Brujeria at some point. So, like Lutefisk, this album wasn't for me.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't hate my experience of listening to this, but it definitely was. By the time the last couple of songs, especially once I noticed the thing with the bass, I was like, I want this to be over. I want it to be done. I don't want to be listening to this anymore.
Okay, here's the truth. I think you and I are both going to give it the same medal.
Which it's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while. Does this album slap? Yeah, I put a question mark. I said yes, question mark.
I mean, it's got some pretty rockin' metal riffs.
Yeah, I mean, this is like musically, because I feel like I talked about the bass tone, but when you listen to just the music on its own, what this is it's a fusion of early 90s grindcore and death metal. It's in the vein of like a Napalm Death, or where they're in that. Napalm Death was in that sort of transitionary period where they're going from a very straightforward grindcore to a much more death metal oriented sound, still with that core of kind of the punk grindcore, just nastiness and energy to it.
Well, if you ever get a chance, by the way, give Scum a spin.
I think I have listened to Scum.
Have you?
Yeah, at some point. I've listened to worse grindcore albums. I have at some point tried to listen to Anal Cunt.
The band.
The band. So I have listened to worse grindcore albums. I mean, Scum is like the grindcore album.
Right.
So,
I mean, that's the example.
Like it's definitely not. It's not a bad album, but I mean, grindcore is as a genre one of those things that's meant to be kind of bad on when I say bad on purpose. I mean that in the sense of, if you are someone who's more used to normal music, listening to this, it's going to sound bad.
Right.
But it's lo-fi, it's chaotic, it's messy, and that's the point.
I did hear, by the way, or I seen.
You seen it
on YouTube. I watch. There's a few harpists that I actually watch because there's some fun stuff that they do and some cool covers of songs that I'd never heard in that way before. There was one, I can't remember when it was, but she did a cover of You Suffer on the harp. Yeah. It was great.
Quick video.
Yeah.
A handful of notes.
Yeah.
This is very much in that style of sort of that nebulous space between grindcore and death metal. And it's the energy is extremely punk. I feel like it's an extremely punk energy to it. I didn't really. I think this album is in that spot score wise where it's like you're not going to find a lot of reviews that try to give it a quantitative score. Because of its age. I mean, it's a very well-known album. It's, I think publicly it's considered to be, probably more well-regarded than we are making it sound.
Yes.
Like there are people who consider this to be a very important death metal album.
I mean, it is.
And I would agree. It is.
Yeah.
By the way, I think I was set up a little bit to dislike it just from the cover art. I mean, boy, it is shocking, but I've never liked death metal albums that use pictures of an actual dead body. It's a picture of a real man's severed and slightly burned head.
Yeah, being held up by the hair.
I think he was a drug dealer or something like that. It was from like a Mexican tabloid, but I've never cared for that. It just feels it's gross. I don't want to see that, that sort of thing. I don't think of myself as being a prude or particularly sensitive to that, but I don't think it's controversial to say. I don't think it's prudish to say I don't want to look at pictures of dead bodies.
Right.
I don't want to see that. I don't think that's too wild an ask. But it has become an iconic image for the band.
Yeah.
It is definitely, it's striking, it is shocking, and it's supposed to be. That's why it's there. But that sort of set it up for me as like already put a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth. What's your favorite song on this album?
I mean, the title track is probably
sure. I think I wrote down Desperado entirely because I think that's an entirely instrumental track, or it's almost entirely instrumental.
Yes.
I did.
It's weird for them to do an Eagle song.
Yeah.
Like that.
I also do remember liking Chingo de Mecos a little better.
Or Chinga tu Madre. That's largely instrumental.
I was Chingo tu Madre. The one is the one I was thinking that, and then I saw Chingo, which is very similar.
Right.
No. Chingo tu Madre means go fuck yourself.
Yeah, fuck your mom.
Yeah. I think colloquially it's used more like
in that vein.
Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
But the literal meaning is fuck your mother.
Yeah.
Apparently, Chingo de Mecos means fuckload of cum. Okay. All right.
They really paint a verbal picture.
Some wordsmiths.
Yeah.
But yeah, what medal do you bestow upon this? Like Mascarada to Chewbacca?
It's a bronze.
Yeah, it's a bronze.
Yeah.
As for me as well. And remember, whenever we give part of the reason why we have bronze, silver, gold is they're broad categories, and also this is entirely just our opinion about these things.
And they always get a medal.
Yeah. Well, I think we've listened to a couple of things that did not place. We've listened to at least one thing that did not place, and I do not remember what that was. I've struck it from my memory.
If anybody remembers, message us.
It's a bronze, and what I was saying is that this is just our opinions about this.
Yeah.
It wasn't for us. If you love this band, more power to you.
I mean, check it out. No matter what.
I don't want to dissuade people from there are very few albums, unless it's like made by someone who's an active piece of shit, which is, as far as I know, none of the people who've been involved in this band have a particularly have at least a widespread reputation for being awful. There's a lot of people that have been involved in this project who have been in other bigger projects that seem to be all right for the most part. So, the only albums I would ever discourage people from listening are ones that actively support awful people.
Right.
This isn't that. This is just something that I do not have the taste for.
Like the aforementioned anal cunt.
Well, Seth Putnam is also long dead, so
yeah.
I don't know where that money's going, but it's not going. It's not going to Seth Putnam.
No,
I don't know where those Spotify listens would be going to. I guess Scott Hull is still around, but I think he was barely in the band. He's been in a bunch of other grindcore bands like Pig Destroyer and whatnot, but I don't think Scott Hull gets residuals from Anal Cunt. Oh boy. So in typical me fashion, I don't quite know what I want to be listening to next week.
Okay.
So I will figure that out as we go along.
I have mine picked out for the following.
Okay. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it will be. But until then, why don't you go ahead and subscribe to our feed on whatever podcast service you are using to listen to us. And thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Bronze Metalist Podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
Congratulations! All right.